Hello, and welcome to All I Do Is Fail. I am your host, Tom Elwes. I'm joined today as ever by my co-host, Mr. Ali Woods.
Yo, everyone, how you doing? Just to say at the top, guys, we've got an interview today. So if you are here for the interview of champion snowboarder Aimee Fuller, then you can skip forward a little bit, 10, 15... 10, 15. 20, 25, 30, 35, 40.
50, whatever, you know.
Next episode, but 10, 15 minutes. And you can see that in its full. But for just to start off, Tom...
The news. Right, first story. I think we're going to go back to what happened last week with Mr. Kanye West. Kanye, still no album, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't need it.
Don't need it? You're just there for the stage show? You're just there for the musical of Donda that he's putting on, but not the actual album Donda, you know?
So, but you're saying, we were chatting just before we were on air, you're saying that he's moved to a different stadium.
Well, apparently, so someone in his close circle has just tweeted out, "We're moving to another stadium." Clearly, they evicted him from the last one. They got too pissed off at him. At the
Imagine being paid $1 million a day and then going, "We don't want you here."
It's too much now, Kanye. Get out.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
Even for us, you're weirding out our athletes.
Yeah.
Like the people, they're trying to train and you're just watching intensely while nodding your head. You don't have headphones on. What's going on?
You're making a mess. Yeah. Okay. You're not cleaning up after yourself. It's time for you to go.
Maybe he just wants to be a professional footballer.
Maybe
this is his way. And then he'll be like, "I'm recording my studio on the pitch."
Yeah.
And then be like, "Well, you can't really do that." "Well, I guess I gotta play then."
I would love it so badly if you were in that stadium, and I know he's been like walking around, but if you just like getting served at like the kiosk, like getting a Coke, and it's just Kanye being like, "Sup?"
You got any ideas for songs?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
The rumor is that there was no album, there was no Donda 2-3 weeks ago when he first announced it, and he's just been making it in this period of time.
He played music at that night.
Yeah, apparently that was just for show music, and he's actually been making it.
I recognise that song. It was just Ice Cream Band songs. It was just the stock songs you play on that DJ. Yeah. What is
he thought he wanted to challenge himself, and he told his record label, yeah, definitely an album. And then they're like, okay. Because right now, if you were a record label head, I doubt all of this is planned out because it's costing too much money. You would be pulling your hair out, being like, "Give the fucking album over, Kanye. No one wants to see your shitty musical." Because that's what it is. He's putting on a musical of the album.
Like
Donda.
Hamilton.
Well, no, like it's like Mamma Mia or the Thriller musical, you know? It's like, normally it happens 30 years after the album's release, but he's doing it.
Yeah, but he's living in 3008, mate. He's already there. Kanye West, the musical.
Kanye, the musical.
It's called Yay!
I'd love to
Yay
know,
for Kanye.
What do you actually think the storyline? You know, they always have like a weak storyline around like the Mamma Mia musical. It was like a girl trying to find her dad. What do you reckon the storyline to Kanye's musical would be?
His musical, regardless of what the songs will be, was everyone thought I was crazy. Turns out I'm a genius. That is I don't care what else happens in it. There's definitely halfway through. Yeah. He's going, "Damn, no one gets it. Yeah. They're all idiots. Don't they realize I'm producing magic here?" And then that breaks into a sort of auto-tune song for like 24 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
"How could you be so heartless?"
Yeah.
And then it's like,
and all my ex-girlfriends were wrong.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and then he sort of punches Ray J in the face.
Yeah. Fuck you, Ray J. Kim's mad. Okay.
And then everyone says like, "Kanye, you really were right about everything the whole way through." Yeah. And he's like, "God,
genius! You really are the next Disney. You know, that's it. You did it." Okay.
He is good at those moments, though. A clip that often comes up for me after I've seen before is, have you seen that YouTube clip of him accepting the Grammy?
Oh yeah. I guess we'll never know.
So good. Yeah. A lot of people were asking what I was gonna do if I didn't win this Grammy. I guess we'll never know. Oh, that is so slick, man. And that's what I said when I came runner-up in Southeast King of the Year 2018.
I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know. And there was a...
Yeah.
And the winner is... Juggling Hamstino. And to be fair, he did do great impressions of characters from Yes Minister.
And Benidorm killed it.
Standing ovation from everyone apart from the people in their scooters and mobility scooters.
Yeah, I mean, the Kanye West saga continues. I hope we get Donda at some point.
It's coming, but I've told you they've got adverts on the tube now.
Doesn't matter. This happened before. You did not realise there was another album, Yondy. The same thing happened like 3 years ago.
Hey, just making things up.
Yeah, Yondy. And he did a similar thing, whole shebang, and then just never released the album. Was like, no, don't fancy it.
Wow, I'm going to do that with my specials. I have been doing that with my specials. Maybe.
Threatening one, and then realizing the appetite is not quite there, and just think I'll put it away. Wait a few more years.
Yeah.
Wait a few more years.
He's hired a room in Greater Yarmouth. The suite room, the
art centre of Great Yarmouth.
That's a Great Yarmouth. At upwards of £10-15 a night. He's been hauled up in there. They said he's only having rock. He's only eating rock.
Until he's finished his special, and he's got special guests going in and out. Open micers at every level showing up.
Various people thinking it's some sort of spot. It's some sort of night. But yeah, that's what people are saying about me. Well, I'm generally spreading that rumours. But look, I'm looking forward to this album. I think he's going to release it. I'm looking at those adverts on the Tube thing because that's prime real estate, man. That's not like dropping a video online. Like to pay for Tube, Central London Tube, the video ones, not even like, that is that's coordinated. There's no way Kanye's bringing up TFL. Yo,
it's Kanye.
A lot of people say what happened to my adverts and on the Piccadilly line. I guess we'll never know.
So apparently on stage as well during his musical, people pointed out that he was wearing an anti-bear costume. So he was wearing that really spiky outfit. Apparently that was created by a bloke to be anti-bear proof.
I thought you meant like against the notion of bears.
No, he's very anti-bear.
Anti-bear. Yo, we got
fuck them polar bears.
Exactly. Bears. Fuck them. I never liked Winnie the Pooh.
You always mean to eat.
That other one who had the picnic basket.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah, so, the Kanye West saga continues. Okay, our next story in the news, ladies and gentlemen, is that of exam results. Exam results. And this one slightly concerns me because I put a sketch out. For those who don't know, the exam
Tom
results...
does sketches.
Yeah, please watch because no one else does. Basically, the exam results came back, and this year they were done by teachers' assessment of students and mock exams.
Yeah, over a glass of wine at home.
Yeah. And shockingly, private schools did way, way, way better, and this was the highest results that any year doing exams ever, for both A-level and GCSEs. And shockingly,
they got grades that were just ancient Greek numerals.
Yeah,
It was that good. It transcended the Roman alphabet.
Yeah. So I did a little sketch pretending to be a private school teacher, giving very positive grades to students who maybe didn't deserve it. And I'll tell you what, people were upset. The people were angry.
Was it people who, they probably go to state schools, their kids go to the local comprehensive, but they were was it those people angry on behalf of people at private
shockingly
schools? No. Oh, was it? So who does that leave? People?
Just kids who went to private school.
People went to private school, yeah.
Very expensive boarding schools, and they would say things
and
like...
their parents.
No, we just did better because we have smaller classes, so we have more attention on us.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, hard to argue with that. How do you feel with the backlash, Tom? How are you responding?
First sort of a circle of hatred online, and I'll tell you what, I do not care about the people being upset at me. I couldn't give a shit. If this is me getting cancelled, I will take it because fuck you, people. All the people are angry.
If I see you in the Ivy, mate, you're toast.
Yeah.
You are sourdough toast, mate.
I've got some bloody strong words for you. That's what I've got. Yeah.
Well done to everyone who got their A-level results. Generally, no matter how you did. I was very upset with my GCSE results.
You would have hated it. Imagine exam results not being done by exams.
My school wouldn't have. We would have got shit grades because my school, because it was it was very academic, my school. And it was a grammar school. It was all boys school, but it was free. So it was all about you just had to fucking work. That was why you were there. There was no, but you want to be an artist now. Fuck that shit.
No, that's because that's what my school was.
Because they'd send you to your school.
Painting and dance.
Just put your hands in the paint and put them on the paper.
You do and paint the wall if you want.
Exactly. And, oh my God, that's amazing, Justin. But when we had mock exams, right? They were the worst, the hardest exams ever. These were generally some of the brightest kids in the country. Our school would normally rank in the top 2 or 3 in terms of exams in the country. And so the mocks, what they would do is they would pick out all the hardest questions of various exams over the years and just make the mock exam that. So you'd get your mock exam thinking, I should be pretty doing well here. And it would be like 58%.
Right.
And the class average was like 62%.
Ooh.
And it was because it was incredibly difficult. And you had some little boy genius getting like 78%. And everyone like, oh my God, Rajan got 78%. And that was the school. So I can imagine if the teachers were marking our exams, they'd just be like, I mean, I guess it was in some ways a university level paper, but I know you can do better. Yeah. So I'll give it a B.
At my school, they would have been like, right, what's he doing? English. Well, he told me that he had seen the Romeo and Juliet film and he really enjoyed it. So
aptitude for learning.
Yeah. He's just some really interesting commentary on that. And so that's definitely worth an A. So that's good. Yeah.
This is how I imagine your teachers doing it. They come in on A-level results and they just have the results there and then they just hold them up and go and rip them and go, if you didn't want your exam results, you've passed the test of life.
Yeah. Don't need them. Don't hold you back.
And they hold me back and they go, Ali, notice you actually did all your exams and had them in to quite a high standard.
Yeah.
See me after class. That's not really what
sorry. Little Timothy over here. He said exams are a social construct. I never want to sit one. A star.
Yeah, exactly. Your kids are the ones where it's like algebra or trying to work out something on a triangle. It says find X, and then someone points an arrow to where it says X and goes, here's X, and they go,
mind blown.
You are a genius.
Yeah.
Whereas mine's like, you fucking idiot. You think I would say where's X? You idiot. Yeah. Get in detention all week.
Oh, well, there we go.
But well done, everyone, for getting your A-levels.
Yeah, you did good. All the people listening to A-levels and all the people with kids who listen who have sat their exams, well done. Right, that was the news. Thank you so much for listening.
Final one, final quickly one. Scarlett Johansson versus the mouse.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
ScoJo is suing Disney. Now, I don't know the quite particulars over this, but anyway, it seems like the general thing is she signed a contract for a cinema release of Black Widow. Disney changed it so that Black Widow is released. It was released in cinema 7th of July and on streaming, on Disney Plus, 9th of July. Mm-hmm. And she says that's against the contract. I assume she'll be making less money somehow because maybe she gets some sort of percentage of ticket sales or something like that. She's taking on Disney. What do we think?
I think Disney were quite tactile with this because they did say, no, that wasn't a part of the agreement. The agreement was just for her to get her 20 million up front. So they put the 20 mil. So public favour, not necessarily with old Scarlett Johansson, if I'm perfectly honest. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, Scarlett, you got 20 mil and you want more, mate?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like when Cristiano Ronaldo was at Man United and he was at that time probably on about 200 grand a week and he said, we're like modern day slaves. Yeah. Little bit of perspective there. Yeah. Ronnie.
Yeah. That's hard work, man. I mean,
ScoJo. But it will be, I just think it's incredible to have one of the prominent Asian actresses shine a light for a change. You have to research if you get that joke. If you didn't like that joke, then you have done your research. But that's my point.
It's on you. It's
on you. But anyway, but it will be interesting to see with more straight to streaming films whether that does change, whether the era of A-list movie stars are still like they're some of the best paid people in the planet for what they do. Yeah, whether that's going to change because you imagine companies going to make less from going straight to streaming than big box office ones.
You know what it will be? It will just be a further disparity. There'll be at the middle end and the middle and the bottom, there'll be a lot less money. But then the people who are bankable 100% hits, just because there's more channels, they will be fought over. And like properties that people know are successful and they can make a lot of money out. For instance, if you take Lord of the Rings, they're making the TV show, which we now know they're shooting in Britain, but that property, there was a massive bidding war between, I think Disney went for it, loads of people went for it, but Amazon landed it. But it's not even...
I wonder how they could afford that.
Crazy. I know. But just
he went to Mars to get it.
One less rocket ship, and he was like, fine, all right, you can have it. But really, so they know Lord of the Rings is such an property that's worth so much money. That's not even... The timeline of that new Lord of the Rings show is not even like Legolas Gimli era.
No, it's thousands of years before. Yeah.
So there's just the sort of ether of the world. And
intellectual property, mate, is the way to go. That's why everything's got to be a universe. You can't just pitch a standalone movie.
So we've got the sort of sad middle-class white guy podcast universe that we're slowly building. Yeah.
Yeah, which actually,
Shout
now I'm thinking
out
about
Horatio
it.
Gould.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm thinking about it. It covers about 80% of podcasts.
Weird.
So that's good. I mean that. I don't know what's going to happen with future film, because I went to the cinema back for the first time. The Patreon listeners know I told the story of going back to the cinema for the first time to watch Black Widow. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah,
but who knows, man?
It'll be interesting. I think it'll be simultaneous. There'll be the home release and the cinema release, and there'll probably be less cinemas in the world. Yes, which is sad because cinema is a great experience, but
Matt Damon was talking recently. What you're talking about Bankable Stars. Apparently, there is a list. You see this, the top 4 or 5 production companies have an ongoing list, and it changes all the time. And he said, you never know when you're on it. So he says, you never know when you're off it.
Right.
But you can sort of tell when you're on it, because suddenly the phone starts ringing.
And they're like, Matt.
And then suddenly,
Spider-Man, you get the Spidey call. You get the, whatever it is, you get it. You get the call and you're in. It is bizarre. It's
Matt Damon, we want you to be a voice in the next Alvin and the Chipmunks movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I do actually know. I've got a person who's a director friend, and he was on set with John Quesmo, who does the voice of Sid the Sloth in in Ice Age.
Well, you're a pretty cool guy.
Yeah. And
you have a mate who knows the guy who does Sid the Sloth.
I know. And he was telling me that actually, like, he was on set with him, and he was just like, John Quesmo apparently was just sitting looking at his phone because he was getting all the emails in, because there was a sort of agent was doing a bit of bidding to get him a better price, and he was just like, this is so much money, man. It's so much money. To, like those
This is so much money. His eyes on either side of his head were like, wow.
Yeah. So if you land those animated gigs, we laugh.
Oh, mate, 100%. You don't even have to learn the words. You can do it with the script there.
Easy money.
You don't have to do as much press because people aren't caring as much about you going.
How much
they want Sid the Sloth being interviewed.
Yeah. How much do you reckon they paid Jack Whitehall to be in the new Cliff of the Big Red Dog film?
Oh my God! Well, but he's actually in it. To be fair, that is strange looking.
And his American accent is interesting as well.
Yeah, but I mean, he's getting his.
Shout out, friend of the show, never been on, have asked many times, but we'd love to have you down.
Jack Whitehall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We got a picture of you.
Yeah.
We can just do that. We can do our voiceover with that picture.
Oh, I'm Jack.
Hello.
But yeah,
That's it. That's a good impression of Whitehall.
There we go. Yeah, but thank you very much for listening, guys. That was the news. Stay tuned.
End of the podcast.
Yeah, stay tuned for the interview with Aimee Fuller. It is coming up right now.
Hope you enjoy.
Hello. And welcome to All I Do Is Fail. I am your host, Tom Elwes. I'm joined today, as ever, by my co-host, Mr. Ali Woods.
Yo, listeners, YouTubers, thanks so much for joining us, as always. How are you, Tom?
I'm good. You know what? The sun is somewhat shining on the way here. It was where I
walked through Spain to get here. This is my kind of summer. This is white boy summer.
Yeah.
Really pasty white boy summer.
For your skin complexion, nothing could be better, I think.
It's the dream. I've never been out so much in the sun. This is my summer on the road.
Yeah.
It's great.
This is...
and I just have to answer how I'm doing. I guess I'm fine as well. Thanks for asking, Tom.
No, I was just I wasn't sure you were done yet with your rant about the sun.
I'm never done.
Okay, that's
every week.
Lots of people have told you that on stage. Okay, yeah, Ali, how are you?
I'm all right, man. I'm good. I'm on annual leave. I got 3 days. So
3 days. What are you doing with
free? I'm free for the rest of the month.
Oh, really?
I'm going the big ones. Going Manchester.
Cool.
Bristol.
Wow.
Edinburgh.
Dream big.
And the headliner, Wolverhampton.
Oh. What a summer. What a summer.
Sounds really, really exotic.
Yeah.
Hey, cheers. Yeah, it's my what I call the world tour.
Yeah. For a pasty ginger person, this is big, okay? You can hear the Dorset tones of our guest today, Aimee Fuller, everybody.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries at all. Aimee, how are you doing? You okay?
I love that you guys start your podcast asking how everyone is. I'm actually really, really good because it's almost the weekend and I've just got that sort of like Friday feeling. The vibes are high.
Friday, yeah. And Saturday.
Exactly. You know, that's how I'm feeling.
By the way, the asking how people are isn't necessarily how we do it all, but I'm trying to train Tom because last time I asked him how are you doing? He went, with what? He just couldn't believe that I was sort of checking in on him as a friend.
This is not the dynamic of this comedy podcast, Aimee. This is very much like you'll begin saying about your life or talking about your feelings or something, and then we'll be like, and on to the next thing, please. Yeah.
So, Tom, do you want to introduce Aimee to our listeners who may not know?
Listeners who do not know, Aimee is not only a fantastic presenter and podcast host, but also a Team GB snowboarder, ladies and gentlemen. Wow.
Former 2-time Winter Olympian, to be precise.
Oh, wow. Okay, I mean, so impressive.
Tom.
I can't even...
Tom.
I feel like a fool, okay? Yeah.
We're basically interviewing someone whose career you wish you had.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to have a father who's just really attentive and supportive, who neither of us know, and just be like, what's it like? Obviously, massive congratulations on reaching such a high level of your field. How do you find it now watching stuff like the Olympics, and obviously not the Winter Olympics, but being out of it?
It's pretty epic, actually, because I feel like I had a phenomenal career in terms of like the journey, the whole thing. Like snowboarding's one of those sports that you start purely for the love of it. You know, I started snowboarding because I thought it was cool, and I saw a guy go from the top of Bromley Dry ski slope to the bottom and air over a roller. So something that I started purely for passion that I managed to turn into a career 2 Olympics later, to be in one piece, and then now to have the opportunity to work and speak with summer Olympians on the other side of it. It's pretty epic. So I'm buzzing right now.
At the beginning of your journey, because there must be both, Ali played football, I skateboarded a lot, and I'll be honest,
cool.
we're pretty
cool.
Whatever.
Yeah,
there must have been a period of time when you first started where people were like, well, she's good, because neither of us really had that actually.
Dude, I can still make it. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah. I'm going back to Old Trafford tomorrow, and I'm going to wear my t-shirt just in case. I know if they need me to come on. I go to every football game in full boots and shin pads,
just in case.
Just in case. Points up to the crowd.
Solskjaer's going to see you. He's going, Ollie, I'm here.
Oh, we need someone to change the game.
Who can it be?
I'll be on the touchline, just sort of jump in, warming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point. When did you start feeling, and when did people start thinking, you know what?
She's all right.
She's good.
She's all right. So I lived in the States from the age of 12 to 16.
Whereabouts?
And Washington, D.C., just outside, actually. Ooh. So not typically known for snowboarding. They call it like East Coast, Ice Coast, Vermont and West Virginia, Pennsylvania. So
not much powder.
No powder.
My snowboard knowledge is on
powders.
Pretty. You need.
You have to take cocaine, do you?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I don't know.
Powder. Okay, yeah.
It was a big weekend one time. Yeah.
Powder. Yeah, powder means snow. Okay, yeah. So not much powder.
Started out. So I did motocross from the age of 6 to 8 in the UK, and then I did
6 to 8.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Someone was like, jump on a motorbike.
Yeah, it's a bit too dangerous to go snowboarding right now. So let's chuck you on this motorized bike.
Exactly. So,
we live very sheltered. Can you imagine your mother if you're like, Mum, I'm taking you out? What are you doing that for?
What are you doing? I wasn't allowed a scooter when I was 6 to 8.
No way.
Let alone something with an engine.
It didn't go down too well with my mum, so hence the 6 to 8.
Right.
And then a prompt.
You hung up your gloves at 8, got clapped off.
Second in the British Championships, I'll claim that. Motocross,
The Motocross Junior 8-year-olds Championship.
No, adult, mate. That's how good it was, yeah. Prodigious.
Went out on a high at 8 after beating everyone.
After being a load of 33-year-old men who were like, sake!
No, it's definitely more like the under 10s, I think.
Right.
So motocross, you've got reading lines and transitions in a track, and then
Don't tell me.
Gymnastics. I did 2 years of gymnastics. I was the elephant in the group. I wanted to throw myself upside down, and the gymnastics career was also short-lived, 10 to 12. So combine the two, you've got the perfect base to start out with snowboarding, because motocross, essentially you're looking for lines and transitions. It's creative. And then gymnastics, you've got the elements of flips, and I was the elephant. So kind of the perfect foundation when I discovered snowboarding in the US at the age of 12.
Because that has been I wouldn't say critique, but I remember watching the Winter Olympics. There were a lot of people saying that certain athletes, it was more like a gymnast had strapped on a pair of skis rather than they were like pure snowboarders or skiers kind of thing. That was one of the critiques. But it does make a lot of sense that gymnastics cross into snowboarding because it's a lot of flips, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say like elements of that would be more pinned on like moguls, you know, like they go and then they like do like twizzly flips, like triple, quad, all sorts of stuff. Whereas I'd say snowboarding is a little bit different than that because you ride a lot of the transition. So you need to be a snowboarder first before you kind of do the flips. You can't just do the flips because you've got to actually ride the terrain. So that was definitely like the perfect, you know, transition for me. And I literally just started it because I loved it. I went with this guy from school who fancied me, so always used to get a lift with him.
Fancied me.
Carry the snowboards.
No, it was brilliant. Shout out to Tarek Al-Hedjalan if you
Tarek
ever listen to this. Yeah.
What a guy.
Exactly. And he's here today. Still carrying the snowboards.
And it was at age 16 that I got noticed by my first sponsor, Roxy. And I had no idea.
Just the biggest one? What? There's not like, I feel like most people get like noticed by like some like little snowboard shop first turning out the boat. So you got noticed by Roxy at 16. That's huge.
Can we just go back slightly?
Yeah.
Gymnastics. Why did you stop?
Because I moved to the States and, you know, there was other options to do a lot of sports. And that was always maybe my problem to start with is I loved doing everything. So, you know, whether it's lacrosse, basketball, football, gymnastics, motocross, swimming, wakeboarding, surfing, like anything.
That's all the things, I think.
all of the things, name the list other than tennis.
Juggling. Juggling.
Tennis. Fuck tennis. Anyone who likes tennis, fuck you. Listen to
I actually love watching tennis, but I feel like...
Welcome back.
I feel like just the skill set required to play it actually is just on another level. I've never mastered it. So snowboarding was something that just stuck in it. I loved it. And I remember my dad saying, my dad's the most chilled out dude. He was just like, why don't you just like pick one sport that you really like and just see if you can get better than good. Yeah. And, you know, that phone call from Roxy completely changed my life. I moved back to the UK when I was 16. And I remember when I applied for Sullivan Upper Grammar School in Northern Ireland, they put on the form like, what do you want to be when you're older? And I put as a joke, I want to be a snowboarder. And based off that, I got the interview for like one of the best schools in the country. Nice. So I went in, met the head dude, and I was like, yeah, he was like, yeah, we interviewed you because we thought this stood out. And I was like, yeah, I was just joking, but I mean, it would be pretty cool to be a pro snowboarder. They did a lot of sport at that school. So got into the school, not even joking. First week, I turned up, I was a bit Americanized. I had like Nike high tops. My eyebrows had been like shredded at the beauticians, like looked so American. No tie, like short skirt. It was completely different style. And I walked in and everyone was like, who is this girl? Like, you know, straight in AS levels. Yeah. And not even joking, it must have been the third day at school. Came home, my mum was like, oh, Aimee, there's someone on the phone for you. I was like, really? So I answered the phone. It's like, hiya, Aimee, it's Stina Brunkelders, Roxy European team manager. Jessica Dalpiaz in the US spotted you through a recommendation of Erin Comstock, and we'd love to invite you out to the Roxy Future Team Camp on the 10th of October, 2007. Changed my life. Never looked back.
You remembered everyone's names as well.
I did. Amazing. But you wouldn't forget that those are really...
He's been on this podcast. I call him Tim sometimes.
He's not influenced. You're not.
You can say that again.
He's not influenced.
You can say that again.
But you know, like key moments like that, like they were really standout bits for me that you couldn't have written it. You know, it's
it's almost exactly. It's like movie type thing. So, but before you got that call, you say it's changed your life. But before you got that call, you've written snowboard on the thing. You say as a joke. Were you thinking in the back of your head, I'm pretty good at this. I could probably. Or were you like,
I was unaware until I went on this camp in the States of the level. I had no idea. I thought it was miles away from it. So no, I didn't think that I could. But there was like a little part of me that thought, well, I wonder like what British snowboarding is like. I wonder if we have anyone that's good. I wonder if I could be that person. And that's kind of all that went through my brain. But I thought initially, you know, moving back from the States, my snowboarding dreams were over. Like I literally used to sit, I remember doing my GCSEs, went to the British School of Washington and just sitting there like gazing out the windows, like visualizing tricks. So yeah, crazy to think that you can be noticed if you, I think, just put your mind to something and
put
focus
it out
on
in
it.
the world, and it will come. Well, just quickly, were either of your parents athletes?
No,
not at all.
No.
Not even semi-interested in sport.
So my dad did motocross, but
Okay.
Very, very casually.
Only 6 till 8 as well.
No, his was probably more like 28 to 30.
Yeah.
Still got a huge passion for bikes, and my mum's pretty sporty. We do a lot of running together.
Right.
Did the London Marathon.
Nice. What's your time?
Oh, it was more like 5 hours. We chatted the whole way.
Oh yeah, that's
it's
good.
not about, for us, it wasn't about that. I've done the competitive thing. It was just about enjoying the experience.
Yeah,
together.
I suppose once you're a Winter Olympian,
Yeah.
you're probably there at the London Marathon thinking,
probably
I don't need this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't.
Went in the full team GB gear just to let people know.
We call that full kit wanker.
And I was there, shin pads.
Whatever,
Don't worry
yeah.
about me. I was there.
Waiting to get noticed.
So
Ollie,
the
look at my
video,
time.
yeah.
I'm so fast.
Yeah, I only did 3 miles in the end, but I think I made my point. So your parents are sort of into sport, but they're not. It's not like you've descended from a line of.
They didn't make
great
you do it. They weren't
Olympians.
like that's.
No, not in the slightest. They've been just so supportive of, I suppose, my journey and choices and directions I've made in it, and they've just never said don't do anything you don't want to do, because snowboarding, without doubt, it's a dangerous sport, and there's elements of fear, and a lot of it is juggling fear and really riding a fine line of progression. You're constantly pushing your body to a new limit, and the sport is evolving massively, and I was a part of that progression. And I always remember being at an event in Canada, and I just looked at the jumps. It was icy, it was -40, and I just didn't feel ready, and I just thought, I don't want to do this. And I rode round and round and round, kept looking at the jumps, and I was like, I feel like I'm going to die if I hit those. And I thought about what my mum said, and I was like, she's right. Don't do it. Why would you do it? If you're not ready for something, why would you put yourself through it? And I literally just got up, left, and went and trained, and then came back to the next event and smashed it, because I'd taken that time out.
Yeah.
So I suppose some people would be like, oh, that's not the right mentality. That's giving up. That's not the winner's mentality. But for me, it was always like about respecting that line of fear and not pushing myself when it felt wrong. You do get elements of that. So it's sort of about assessing that and riding hard when you feel good.
Well, I mean, we've been talking about it on the podcast because the Olympics has been going on. There is now this debate with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka before, in terms of like pulling out when you don't feel mentally ready or you're in a good place to do it. And also there's another debate as well. I mean, a lot of it's been driven by like Piers Morgan and other sort of commentators about like, shouldn't be celebrating third place or a bronze or a silver or something like that. Where do you land on that sort of stuff then, considering before we get back to your story, obviously?
So I think what's really interesting, is this Olympics has changed the dynamic of, performance and mental health, and I think it's actually like really important, because I think athletes are often treated like robots, and they're not. They're humans, and I think there's huge scrutiny and pressure over gold being the only way forward. But some athletes would say gold is the only way forward. But I think seeing the heroic act of Simone Biles and her speaking it out, I think it actually just makes the conversation more accessible, and it humanizes athletes, because they are humans, and people do struggle, and I think people do suffer in silence. So hopefully this is an opportunity to bring the topic to awareness, because it's very easy for anyone that's never suffered with mental health to go, oh, just get up and just do it again, or push through. And I think until you experience it, or you've been around it, and it's raw, it's real, and I think it's very hard to understand. So hopefully the act in which she contributed and was open and vulnerable will hopefully, change some of those really strong, gnarly opinions, because, the conversation needs to be had, and it needs to be approached.
I think especially with
I completely disagree. Now,
Get out. It's just going to be me and Tom.
Exactly. Yeah. It's been me the whole time. Piers Morgan.
No, but with both snowboarding and gymnastics, it's such an element of danger involved. So you were saying you felt that. So did you kind of feel for Simone Biles and be like, I've felt that, I've been in that place, I've been there? Because you hit a snowboard jump and you're not feeling 100%, and you've got to do a flip in the air.
You're going off to hospital.
Yeah, 100%.
It's dangerous. You know,
and there have been, I've seen the X Games and stuff. There have been people who have been put in wheelchairs for life, for mucking one thing up, kind of thing.
I'm not. I won't be shy about it, but I was really scared at the last Olympics. It's funny, when you're younger, you just boom, 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 ride, and you don't really think about the consequences. And definitely as you get older and you're aware, and I think there's more perspective on life, right? As you get older, you've got a life at home, you've got family, you've got friends. And for me, that it was about that balance of, I didn't want to put my family through, that we talk about, because I've seen it, I've witnessed it. There's been serious trauma in Team GB at a young age when I was 19, serious head injuries, and then someone on Roxy we lost due to a head injury. And for me, that's like so raw, and it affected me for sure. And then when there's those elements of doubt and fear creeping in, it's about finding that balance and still having that passion for it. But if you let fear consume you, there's no way forward, then you're going to get hurt, right? So I'd say I definitely struggled in my last year in finding that happy balance. And I did find it, but I was very happy to walk away in one piece. And I will always snowboard. I will always be a snowboarder. But to be able to now snowboard on my own terms for the reasons in which I started it, without the pressure of, an Olympic start gate or an FIS World Cup where you need to land and be in the top 5 to make the games, it's really nice to actually take it back to the reason why I started it, which is the creative element, the fun, sharing the mountains, which is how, most of the British public, if they're so fortunate to ski or snowboard, that's why we all do it, right?
Enjoy it. Amongst the snowboarding community, when like a massive head injury does occur, so I watched that documentary Crash Reel. Is it Crash Reel? Yeah. With I've forgotten his name.
Kevin Pearce.
Yeah, Kevin Pearce. So when something awful like that does happen, how does everyone deal with it mentally? Is it very much just like, oh well, that's that's sad, but carry on, or is it like, does it shake people? I
think it's really hard. It's a really hard topic of conversation, and undoubtedly the snowboarding community, I'd say, is probably one of the most supportive, kind and open communities in sport. The way I suppose the camaraderie between like teammates, friends, countries, it's not like, oh, you're from Norway, I'm from England. It's like the Norwegians, some of the best mates. It was due to be a bridesmaid at a wedding, obviously COVID hit the wall, but
was it going to be like a wedding in like a half pipe or something?
No, definitely not. We would be on the beach. It's the counter opposite. Okay. But it really shakes the whole community, and then it's about bouncing back and supporting the growth of the sport, because I think anybody that has been injured in the sport would never want for it to taint or take away from the elegance and the creativity of the sport. But unfortunately, injury is a part of progression, and you see it in Formula One, you see it in gymnastics, you see it in any free sport. It's danger, and we are riding the line of danger.
How do you even begin to train for doing flips off things? Is it all into an airbag? Like, what's so you say it's in incremental steps. Obviously, you don't just start going off the biggest jump.
No,
obviously, it's very baby steps. But there must be a point when you're making a leap to like a bigger jump where you're like, this is big. Like, is there a way of like mitigating the risk? Do they do it into airbags? Is it like?
Yeah. So back in the day when I started,
are we talking this when you're like 12 or when we're 16?
No. So like
6. Actually,
yeah, this is exactly.
No, 12 to 16 was just cruising, having fun, nothing, just at the local hill in Pennsylvania. Age 16 to sort of like 18 again, riding semi-professionally. 18 went professional, but it wasn't until really right before the first Olympics, 2012, I was invited on a Red Bull camp, and it was my first experience of hitting a proper airbag. It was in New Zealand, and I actually learned a double. So was one of the first women in the world to land a double, and then the first in competition.
A double flip.
Double backflip, yeah. But back in 2012, that was
like sending a double gin and tonic on the way
easy,
to the
mate.
flip.
I know loads of people who've done that.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
back in 2012, that's when sort of the airbag movement started. So
Right.
we'd say like I gave it a rip. So gave it a rip on the airbag, as in like you rip the trick. And got it right a bunch of times. I was like, okay, now's the time. And I think what's so interesting about progression is you never really feel ready. No matter how much you've prepared and prepped, it's new territory. So you never really know how it's going to feel, and you can visualize it. But it comes to a certain point where you're just like, right, I've got to give it a rip. So in 2012, there was the introduction of more airbags, reduced risk training environment, more gymnastics, and that really catapulted the sport forward.
So before then, was it just no airbags? It was not give it a rip, just like give it a go, mate.
Just good luck.
Yeah.
No, it was.
I'll pray for you.
give it a rip, but on the snow. So,
Wow.
But obviously there is powder, and you can build powder kickers. So that would be sort of the best place to start. So I learned my first single flip in 2008 into a little powder kicker, and it was perfect. So that's definitely a great place to start as well.
So you're learning all this, you're performing at such a high level. In these, 12, 16 sounds like you're able to sort of balance it with your life as well. But in the sort of 12 to 21 years, do you feel bad about, do you miss out on other parts of life, that other teenagers running around, partying, all that sort of stuff? Do you have to give up that sort of, for you, is
I
it
would
not a
take
problem?
travelling around the world and snowboarding over
But
ages 16 to 21.
But it is a discipline.
What
isn't
did you
it?
do in that time?
Thinking, well, I was
Just had
studying
no
because
sex,
I was
yeah.
a boy, but I was giving it a rip into my A-level maths. But it's, but yeah, like, did you feel like you were missing out at all with those years, or is it all you want to do snowboard? So it doesn't really matter.
No, definitely not at that time. For me, I was living my dream, and you do well in a contest and you win a few K, you're straight to the bar and you celebrate. We're snowboarders, not runners. So no, there was a really fine balance, and definitely I felt, I'd say, from 2014 to the 2018 Olympics, it was definitely a different dynamic. I was older. I missed, life at home because I've travelled for so many years. Like, the circuit is international. You're going from America to Canada to Europe to China to New Zealand. Like, it's full on and it's fast. So I definitely got homesick. So I'd say I missed elements of that. But other than that, I call snowboarding the degree of life. Like, we kind of looked after ourselves, you just, okay, the events in the US, sweet. Hey, Jenny, like, that was my snowboarding mate. Have you booked your flight? Which flight you want? Cool, boom, done. You just go and do it. So the life experience through living on the road as a snowboarder was so involved that I felt like it was a really good lifestyle. So it wasn't until I was older I was like, oh, God, yeah, I'm missing my mates a bit. But at the time, in those younger years, it was literally the glory days.
Yeah, fair enough. And how did you feel first time you're in Team GB, you're at the Olympics, you're putting on the outfit, how does that all feel?
Well, shall I tell you about the time I almost failed and then didn't?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is a really good story.
A classic all I do is win story.
Yeah,
we get some people coming on here, and obviously you've got your own fail stories to come, but people coming and feel like, I really failed when, I was supposed to be in this big gig and I ended up missing the train I got supposed to get, but then I ended up getting there and smashed it anyway. What an idiot. Not really the point, but so they almost failed but didn't.
This is pretty gnarly actually. Okay, so 2012 got consumed by
start saying gnarly as well.
Yeah.
by the double.
I don't think we can get away with that.
We're gnarly guys. I think we'll be all right.
I think you are, both of you.
You're
savage.
Savage, gnarly guys.
Gnarly dudes.
So basically, 2012, let's give it a little shaka. Yeah, cool vibes, good vibes. Okay, so 2012 got consumed by doing the double, wanted to be the first woman in the world to land it in competition. The Olympics was looming, and it was like, oh, Aimee, you could go to the Olympics. You're kind of like on track. I was like, cool, but I want to do the double. I want to do the double in the X Games. So I was kind of focused on that. I think like my energy, my ego, everything, I wanted that little title. So
is the X Games, what is that? Obviously, is the Olympics the pinnacle, or is the X Games the pinnacle for snowboarders? Like, what do you view as like the biggest?
I'd say before the Olympics, it was the pinnacle, but
Right.
it's very, very prestigious. You get an X Games medal, and it's a pretty big deal.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good. You know, it's the US. It's a TV show.
I imagine it
essentially.
also pays more than, well, definitely than the Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
sure. But it doesn't put your sport on a global stage, right? Like the Olympics does.
Okay.
So, got blindsided by the double due to ruptured my AC joint. First qualifying event for the Olympics, that was the one with the big icy jumps. I was just like, I'm not ready, I'm broken. So missed that. And then second event, qualifying event was in Russia, got cancelled. Third event was in Spain. They only ran one run. So I've sort of like got into this bad trend of missing the World Cups, which is how you qualify for the Olympics. But then X Games came along and I was vibing. I landed my double. Boom, first woman to land a double. That was like a good part of it. So there was 3 events.
How did that feel? So you hit the snow powder. Which
No,
is pretty,
it's not powder.
It's not powder.
Icy-
Tom.
icy jump.
I don't know why Tom said that. But yeah, it's icy. So you hit the ice. You hit the
Snow.
the snow.
Have you ever been skiing in your life?
Well, I thought we were skateboarding. No. So yeah, the snow.
Yeah.
The occasion and what you just achieved is you're starting to realise what's happening. How does that feel?
Also, it's
when
like
you're
everyone
there?
after you. Is everyone like
And
tweeting
is everyone-
you? And
what's-
like,
yeah,
you're like
what-
Sean
I mean-
White tweeting you and stuff. Like, is everyone like, oh?
Yeah, no, everyone was like pretty excited about it. It was definitely like a moment in snowboarding history for sure. But, you know, progression moves on so fast, you know, you're on to the next thing. So that was like mission accomplished. But if we're thinking of a snowboarding season, a year in qualifying, I've missed like 3 or 4 of the major events due to injury, due to not feeling ready, them being cancelled. So I've got 3 events left. So in August, I was due to go to New Zealand. I'd flew out to Canada a month before to train, and I literally impaled myself on the first run on the glacier, separated my rotator cuff. So I did basically rotator cuff and AC joint, grade 2. So I was out of action. So that meant going into New Zealand, I was like really weak and nervous. So got to New Zealand, rode really averagely, finished like 17th. So to give you perspective, there's 24 girls in the world that can go to the Olympics, and you need to be in the top 24. You need to get 2 top 12s. I've got neither of these. And going into the games, I was kind of one of the it kids. You know, Aimee will go. It was kind of like a given. But I'd been so distracted by the double. So basically I had two attempts left. November time, it was like the Team GB press, like day. And I said to Mum, don't think I'm going to go. She's like, why not? I'm like, because I'm in like 40th. There's 2 events left and only 24 people go. She's like, you should go because you're going unless someone tells you otherwise. And I was like, yes. And that gave me the fire in my belly. So this is where it got savage. Second to last event, it's December. The games happen in February. There's 72 girls on the start line and I needed top 12 or better in the first event. Managed to wing it, hold on, landed, got 11th. Boom.
Oh, nice.
First box ticked.
Is it slope style? Is it big air? What was the first event?
Slopestyle.
Okay.
So we're talking about 2014 Olympics. It was the introduction of slopestyle.
Cool.
So no big air yet. So then
He's on board, don't worry.
He's on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
Then I had 2 weeks for Christmas, so I stayed out in the Northern Hemisphere, and then the pressure, as you can imagine, mounted on me. We're like 3 weeks away from the first Olympic Games for slopestyle, and I'm still sat in like 27th, and I needed top 6 or better out of 40 girls, depending on how the rest of the field rode, as to where they landed, as to whether they would go or not. Because there were like 5 of us vying for those sort of last slots. So you get 2 runs for qualification. I fell on the first run, and it is so volatile. Snowboarding's such an open environment, and I was like, wow, my dreams could be like gone. Like that, you know, like it's like that. Yeah, literally. And then my mate, she's Australian, such good vibe. She's like, you got this, just vibe. We had a little dance at the top, dropped in, somehow held it together, landed the run, so got through to the semi-finals. So I call my mum, I'm like, I'm through to the semis, and she's like, great, so what does that mean? I'm like, yeah, I've got to wait like 2 more days. So like mentally, you can imagine the pressure and mounting was just so immense. I've never felt anything like it. I would just like burst into tears. I was going for these like really long walks at night, you know, when you want something so much, and it is literally like slipping through your fingers.
So when I'm trying to beat my housemate at FIFA, I imagine sort of similar pressure.
Yeah, it's pretty full on.
Trying to beat that 12-year-old online.
God damn you, Lucas.
I can imagine that's intense.
Yeah.
So
he knows exactly where your head's at. So yeah.
So super really intense, and it basically, so that meant I was in the top 12, but there were still like 3 of the other girls in the top 12. So, you know, the battle wasn't over yet, and you wouldn't really call it a battle in snowboarding, but it felt like a battle to get
gonna miss out.
to get that place, right? So just had like a really strong, confident feeling going into it. And you know, the year before, it was the same event where it was -40, icy and windy, where I walked away and turned around, and I just thought, you know what, I can actually embrace this and use this to my advantage, because everyone else is going to be like, oh, it's windy, oh, it's cold. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to ignore this muffle, and I'm just going to focus and find my flow. And landed, qualified in 5th, got into the finals, and I just remember getting at the bottom, ringing my mum, going, I've done it. She's like, what have you done? And I'm like, I'm in the finals. She's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I've done it. So I still had to ride the finals, but basically I was the only one that was in that position, got into the finals. So top 6 go through, cruised the little run, got 5th, and never looked back since. In terms of dealing with pressure, load, I've never experienced anything like it, and it totally changed my perspective on everything going forward.
And what do you mean in terms of just accomplishing anything, how to overcome fear?
I think in terms of like manifesting and focusing your energy on what you truly want, and, you know, creating a pathway to it. Because I think, you know, in free sports and in many things, we can drift through life and you can see goals and they can pass by you. But what I just learned was how actually, if you really want something and if you really focus on it, no matter how many obstacles are in the way, it's totally possible. And going into my second Olympics in 2018, like the first season, I was ranked 3rd in the world in big air and 5th in slopestyle, and I'd qualified within the first 5 events because I just channeled my energy differently.
Do they give you any sports psychologists or anything to work with in like the Team GB camps?
So each sport operates differently.
Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
Just bloody win. Yeah. Just win.
So I'd never had any work with a psychologist until probably about 4 months out from the games, which was probably the toughest period for me ever in my sport. I was losing the love for it. I was scared. Mm-hmm. I'd split up with my boyfriend of 5.5 years.
Wow.
And my nan had cancer. So it was kind of just like the full mosh pit of emotions that could happened. And our physio Ali was just like, Ames, why don't you speak to someone? And I'd never done that before. And I spoke to her and I explained, you know, the in-depth, you know, experiences that I'd had and felt. And she's like, but why are you still doing it? I gave her my reasons, and she's like, that's cool. You know, if that's your reasons to still do it and to still compete, hang on to those and use those. And she's like, you've got 2 more sessions with me if you want them. Never used them, just cracked on and got the job done.
Wow, fair.
Okay.
Because I always think it's like any elite sport, at a high level of elite sport, like there must be a certain like fortified mentality that you have to get your head in. You know, you must be able to eradicate everything else that is going on and just solely focus on the competition when you're doing it, especially when you're doing something that is like life-threatening if you get it wrong. So I'm very interested into that.
Yeah.
Like, is there a zone that you hit just before you drop in? Is there like a laser focus point?
You know what? It's kind of funny, right? So you're either like flowing, you're in flow state, and, you know, everything's automatic. And it's like, you know, when you're riding a slopestyle course, it's an 800-meter course with a series of obstacles, and you end up in almost this like rhythmic, like I found it almost like a beat. So it would be like tick, tock, boom, doom, like literally, like each obstacle was almost like a beat in your brain and a movement. So it's like you're flowing through movement patterns that you visualize. But when it's not going to plan, you know, there's no beats. You can hear stuff.
It's like dubstep. Just
What you mean, amazing?
The greatest genre.
Artistic.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, in particular, like at the Olympics, it was just like, Aimee, in 2018, it's like, this is now. Aimee, this is now. And I really struggled. I really, really struggled. I just couldn't get there. In the slopestyle, I was good. I was gravy. But in the big air, there was a little bit of a mishap with my binding. My binding broke. I'd like had a really good warm up, like runs 1, 2, and 3 were all to T. Landed my double. Run 4, my binding just broke in half, and I was like, why? You know,
when you were going down the slope, it broke.
Just like as I finished and took it off, and that meant I lost 2 of my warm up runs. So then I had to drop in cold at the Olympic Games, big air, with someone else's binding strap, and it was just a bit of a disaster. Like fear totally consumed me, and I was distracted, and I was like, I was there. I was in that moment where, you know, I'm exposing myself in saying this, but I stood at the top and I was literally like, Aimee, this is the Olympics now. Like it wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And I just remember like landing, and I had, the first run was like very, very close to success. And if I'd landed that, I would have been in a great position. And then the second run, I just impaled myself. Like literally, that is my fail moment. I impaled myself. I landed on my face. But even though that was a failure, the triumph was actually getting up and smiling and putting it in the past and actually being really happy to be able to walk away from the sport in one piece, knowing in the slopestyle at least, I'd done my very best and I'd had the best preparation before, you know, the sort of struggle in November. You know, going into the games, I was like my fittest, best version of myself, ranked 3rd in big air, 5th in slopestyle. Like everything was good, but I let fear consume me on that day. But I don't know, I feel very lucky to be able to turn it around, and I've never really regretted it. Like it is what it is, and I will never let it define or consume me. And I'm just so happy that I was able to walk away with my head held high and, you know, not cause trauma to my family, because I know how scared they were watching me, you know?
It's very, I mean, we can't even begin, if we have a bad gig, you know, if we were to have a bad gig in front of our, very similar. You know.
Well, I normally end up, I normally impale myself.
Yeah,
on
similar
the
level
stage.
of pain we felt.
No,
but you know, if we had a bad gig or something, it's like, you know, in front of your parents, they'd be like, well, I knew you were shit. Or like, you know, they would just be like, you know,
That's
they wouldn't
what they
care.
assume every gig goes, I think, my parents.
It's just, we wouldn't care. Or like, if you, even in other sports like football or you know, so you have a bad game, it's just like, oh, okay, you had a bad game, on to the next one kind of thing. It's just with these extreme sports, it's if you have a bad day at the office, it's you've fallen 30 feet onto your face kind of thing.
It's
just how do
brutal.
you, when you absolutely cane yourself, how do you sort of, do you still have adrenaline running through you and you're like, oh, I just keep focusing on the competition, I'm still able to move my body, I'll plow on?
I think the biggest thing is when you fall, it's like, okay, let's just consume what's happened. Okay, I'm in one piece. And if you're in one piece, it's a result, right? And then normally you are able to carry on because, you know, we train to take impact essentially, and we learn to fall. Like you learn how to fall. Everyone's got their own little style, and it's definitely not styled out, but it's you know, it's like a recovery position, and you learn to fall elegantly and gracefully. And it's actually about relaxing and taking the impact, because if you do stiffen up or cat out of it, it's not easy to do. But yeah, it scares you, and often the best way to get through it is to just get back up and power through it. But yeah, it's definitely not easy, and it's something that I think it's like a subject that I'm quite passionate about in general, is fear. And I've got a big project in the works that's being announced in the next couple of weeks actually, and hopefully it'll be something that can help.
I wouldn't call this a big project.
But thank you.
I mean,
that's lovely.
Thanks for calling it that way.
Something that I hope that can help the next generation of athletes and actually people day to day with dealing with fear, because you know, a lot of the experiences I've had, you can actually relate back to everyday life, whether it's doing your driving test for the first time or your motorbike test or an exam
You were only 8.
There's a lot of experiences which you can recreate and they don't define you, but there are also experiences that you will never be able to recreate. So I think it's about finding perspective on those.
So I mean, we don't have much time left, but stepping away from competing at that level, how have you found that life then? I mean, you're talking about it now, you've got these projects on the go, but how have you found that transition from going, I mean, I'm sure you still obviously snowboard all the time, but competing and that sort of trajectory, and now this life, what's it like?
Yeah.
Well, you can see there's a smile on my face, and I'd definitely say it's nice having 2 feet on the ground. I have dabbled with other sort of extreme elements. I rode an e-foil down the Thames, which I don't know if you've ever seen those.
E-foil?
It's like a kind of, what you explain it? It's like a surfboard.
It's like a flying surfboard. It's electric on a like a hydrofoil wing, so it's a carbon wing, so it floats. Wow. They're super hard to ride. It's like riding a bucking bronco. So I actually trained for like 6 weeks, and I rode it from Putney to Westminster. It was like the first time ever to launch a watch with Tag Heuer. So that was pretty epic.
Of course, just a normal Tuesday.
But at the same time, like, I did find that utterly terrifying actually, and I think people had no idea the preparation that went into that, but I did do it in a leather jacket and jeans, so that was unique. Cool. So I will always keep my foot in board sports. I love it. I'm super passionate about it, but podcasting, documentaries is definitely something I love. Chatting, I love meeting new people, and I think snowboarding has exposed me to meeting so many amazing people, so I'm really enjoying doing that, but with 2 feet on the ground. It feels safer.
And is your mum happy that you're not flying through the air as much now, or is she...
Definitely. I mean, she wasn't so happy seeing me go down the Thames past MI6.
That's what
6 weeks ago. She was like, Amy, I thought we were done with this stuff. And it was literally like, if I fell in, it's just not good news, is it? You don't want to go in the Thames near Westminster. Trust. I did go in up to my knees, actually. I did, but I recovered it.
Do you have like web feet now or something?
No, I think my family are like super happy that, we had an amazing ride, and so grateful to be able to experience, some of those moments with them. Like the whole fam came out to Pyeongchang, and my brother and friends and stuff, and what a unique life. I feel very blessed to have been able to do something I love for a living, but now I'm enjoying doing other things. It's
amazing.
Set me up well.
I just have one more question before you go. Did you run the marathon in North Korea?
I did, exactly.
Can you just quickly, really, really quickly, just say what the process of running a marathon in North Korea looks like?
Was that chatting with your mum as well?
So actually I cheated on my mum, because we decided together we were going to do the marathon, and I could never have run the marathon as a snowboarder because it's too much.
You really
impact.
are competitive. She was like London, I was like North Korean.
So no, we were due to run London together, and then my mum, no, not my mum, sorry, someone that used to work at Sky that I met at the Olympics was like, hey, I see you're running the marathon in London. You don't fancy doing one in North Korea before, do you? I was like, no. She's like, it's for a documentary. I was like, okay, tell me more. And then literally like 3 weeks later, I was on a flight to North Korea, fronted running in North Korea. If you check it out, it was myself and a skier, Miriam Jaeger. She ran the 10K. And I got lumbered with the marathon. But
she did well there, yeah.
Yeah, she did well there. She negotiated that contract well. Not so much for me, but you know what? What an experience. And it was a really, 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 really surreal experience. Like the marathon was like the accessory on the side. Being in North Korea with no phone, no laptop for 8 days. It was raw.
What did you? First of all, how many people were running the North Korean marathon?
So there was actually about 300 people running the full marathon.
Did you have to let Kim win?
Kim Jong.
I'll tell you what.
He's just walking, and then he gets picked up on a bike.
He did it in 1 hour 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if I can tell you this.
Record.
Yeah. I don't know if I can tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Yeah. So we actually saw one of the North Korean athletes. So we had to cut it out of the footage for the documentary. They had like a slingshot for one of the women on the dudes, and she like got slingshotted forward. So yeah, they've got their own rules out there.
What do you mean slingshotted?
Yeah, like a bungee cord. Like one of the North Korean male runners used a slingshot, to ping one of the women forward like a bungee to enhance her speed. Yeah, crazy.
What, the whole way?
No, it was just like to sort of like slingshot her to the front.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, we saw some things for sure.
What else did you see in North Korea?
You're gonna have to go and watch the documentary.
Oh.
No. We saw the weirdest experience was probably ending up in their food factory and then getting to look around that and seeing how they make bread, and then ending up on the roof with someone who looked like Mr. Kim, offering us chicken feet whilst the Olympic weightlifting team swam in the tropical oasis pool on top of the food factory. I'll leave that to your imagination.
Yeah. I mean,
sounds like
that's what I'm doing after this. So
Yeah, should we go for a swim?
yeah. I got some chicken feet in my bag. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Aimee, and sharing your story. It's fascinating and also very inspiring to listen to.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Is there any social media?
Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? Okay, so my name is spelled AIMEE _
You've lost me already.
Fuller. You can find me on the gram. Check out the Monday Mile podcast as well, where I walk and talk with my guests to get them off the television screen.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, there you go, Aimee Fuller. Check her out on socials if you're not already, and also the documentary's coming up as well.
Documentary's already out, running in North Korea. Yeah.
Is it?
It's only in North Korea, is it?
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Limited release.
Yeah, no, we'll give you the full insight on what it's like to go to North Korea and run a marathon.
Well, thank you so much. Ali, where can they find you, mate?
Ali Woods Gigs, you know how it is at Ali Woods Gigs. There's stuff going on. Thank you very much to everyone who came to my work in progress at Top Secret this week. It was lovely to perform to you, so appreciate it. And you can find me at Tom Elwes, all good social media platforms. Sorry to all the people that I upset with the sketch this week. I mean, I don't really know what to say. A lot of you were very angry, but what?
I made a sketch taking the piss out of people who went to private school, and they were not happy at all.
I reckon you went to private school.
I did, yeah, and that's why people were like.
So you can do that.
Yeah, well, people were like, "I'm offended. I went to private school. I'm offended." So I was just replying stuff like, "Good." Like I don't give a shit. Fuck off. Honestly, I couldn't care less.
I have to say, I respect. I do love your stuff. You make me laugh.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've not seen your stuff, but I'll check it out.
No, you don't need to. Don't worry, it's fine. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. This has been All I Do Is Fail. Thank you. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye, guys. Thank you.